the first this basically says that the British rule in India is responsible for the development. So whenever the Britishers came down to India, whatever period in whichever era, they are being held responsible for the development of the common law based legal system in India. Don't get confused with the term common law here, because common law is the law that we all are abiding in the present time. So common law is nothing to get confused about. All right. In this lesson, we will learn more about the administration of justice and law reforms during the British India period in India. The development of British common law based system can be traced to the arrival and expansion of the British East India Company in India in the 17th century. So it says that we are going to learn about how administration worked in order to deliver justice, and how the law reforms or the legal reforms took place during the British period in India, and also that the British common law system basically entered India during the arrival and expansion of East India Company in the 17th century. So kindly mark the last line of this paragraph, which says expansion of the British East India Company in India in the 17th century. So this tells us that East India Company initially was invited in the or came to India and established itself in the 17th century. Alright, so now we have a knowledge as to when East India Company made its ground in India. Okay, moving on to the next paragraph. The East India Company gained a foothold in India. Foothold means a firm grip. Alright, all these terminologies are literature terminologies. Don't get confused. If you find any difficulty, we have two students today. This is also a piece of information. We have two students today, Khushi and I guess Karthike. Karthike, are you there? I don't know if he's here, but Khushi is having a dictionary, so we have a student to assist us with certain meanings that we will find difficult. Okay. Yes. All right, no problem. So today I'm going to help you out with it. I have my spare phone kept with me. I'm going to look up for any meaning that is required. No problem. No problem. We'll look into the dictionary matter once the class ends. Piyush Kesarwani, kindly switch on your webcam. And I suppose I cannot see. Okay. Okay. So moving on to the next paragraph. The East India Company gained a foothold in India in 1612 after Mughal Emperor. Kindly mark from here. Foothold in India, from the first word, the East India Company, start marking, gained a foothold in India in 1612 after Mughal Emperor Jahangir granted it the rights to establish a factory in the port of Surat. So from here we know in which year exactly and how and from whom the foothold in India was given to the East India Company. Are you all marking? Okay. Moving on, in 1640, now from 1612 we are jumping to 1640, which says in 1640 the East India Company established a second factory in Madras, which is now Chennai, on the southeastern coast. Firstly, there has been no mention of the first factory which was set up by EIC, so don't get confused about it. See, you people are class 11 students, so concentrate on the subject matter that has been provided to you. If there is something additional to be added from an exterior source, I will do that for you and provide it to you, or I shall direct you to do the same. Okay? Alright. So further, East India Company established a second factory in Madras, now Chennai, on the southeastern coast. उसके बाद Bombay Island, a former Portuguese outpost, was gifted to England as dowry in the marriage of Catherine of Braganza to Charles II, and was later leased to EIC in 1668. So what meaning do we figure out from this line? Can anybody tell me and the whole class? If anybody can, kindly raise your hand. What does this line say? The Bombay Island, a Portuguese part, was gifted to England during the marriage of Catherine of Braganza to Charles II. What does this mean? What happened here? Anyone? Okay, I'll tell you. See, what happened was a piece of land called Bombay Island. It was a Portuguese outpost. I guess you people must be knowing Portuguese people also lived in India for a very long time, and the state of Goa that you people go out for vacations, Goa was the most prime Portuguese colony. Agar if I'm going to give you an extra general knowledge, Portuguese invaded India and only lived in the state of Goa. और कहीं नहीं रहे वो. They used to live in Goa. All right. So Bombay Island was a Portuguese piece of land and it was gifted to the country of England. England उस time India पे rule कर रहा था. So उस time ये gift लेना देना बहुत, like it used to happen on a very large scale. So a piece of land was gifted to England. And why and how? It was given as dowry in the marriage of Catherine of Braganza to King Charles II and was later leased. उसके बाद उस piece of land को got leased to EIC. Now leased is something, the word leased is something that is used in property law, and we are not going to discuss it right now because it doesn't concern you people, but I will tell you what does lease mean later on. Some of you must have heard the word lease, but then we shall come back to it later on. So now, did you people understand the concept of dowry and marriage that happened here, that a piece of land was gifted to England as part of dowry? Okay. Alright. Next, in the early 17th century, the crown means the king. The crown, through a series of charters, I told you already, rule books basically. In simple words, charters are rule books. You can write down underneath charters. Okay. So what does it say? This, through a series of charters, established a judicial system in the Indian towns of Bombay. Start underlining in the early 17th century. Start underlining from there, and underline till the end of the paragraph, which says of the British East India Company. So it says in the early 17th century, the crown of the king, through a series of charters, established a judicial system in the Indian towns of Bombay, Madras and Calcutta, basically for the purposes of administering justice within the establishments of the British East India Company. Any confusion till here? Students, any confusion till here? Kindly let me know. This was like a simple introduction to East India Company. Everybody's clear with it? Okay. You people must be provided with, yes, Shania gave me a thumbs up, or you can do that. You can use those gestures because I don't want you to switch off and on your mic all the time. That would be like troublesome for you. Yeah. Alright. So let's move on to the next paragraph, which says the governor and the council of these towns, which towns basically? The towns of Bombay, Madras and Calcutta, where the king thought to establish a judicial system. Okay. So the governor and the council of these towns formulated these judicial systems independently. The courts in Bombay and Madras were called Admiralty courts, whereas the court in Calcutta was called the Collector's Court. These courts had authority to decide both civil and criminal matters. Interestingly, the courts did not derive their authority from the Crown but from the East India Company. Kindly mark this whole paragraph. It's a 4-5 line paragraph. Kindly mark this whole paragraph. Ek line mat mark karo, like mark it with a bracket, so that you know that the whole paragraph is important. Alright. Shania, tell me, what does this paragraph say? What does this paragraph mean? Uh, okay. From here, the basic features of these courts have been given, which says they had the authority to decide both civil and criminal matters. And then lastly, they did not derive their authority or powers from the king, but from the charters and the rules laid down by East India Company. All right. So, yeah, everybody clear? Understood? Okay, now we are directly moving on to establishment of Mayor's Court. The last paragraph given above establishment of Mayor's Court is basically telling us about who issued the charter. The first line says the charter issued by King George I marks an important development in Indian legal history. That's the only important thing which is given here, and there is nothing such relevant and important given, because I don't know if you are going to get a long answer question. I will tell you how much you have to write. If there is anything necessary, I shall notify you about it. Okay, so we shall start with establishment of Mayor's Court. Who's the current mayor in our city? Can anybody tell me? Alright, Abhilasha Gupta is the mayor for city of Allahabad. Does she have a court for herself? Yes or no? Does she have a court for herself? Courtroom? Like, do we have a mayor's courtroom in Allahabad? Alright, this is like a small tiny research homework for you people. Tomorrow you're going to tell me whether we have a mayor's court in Allahabad or not. Okay? Okay. And if you give me a good answer, I might ask you, because you people might be researching, so I might ask you as well why there is no mayor's court. Okay? So we shall start with establishment of Mayor's Court. Keep your notes in front of you. The expansion of its establishment brought new challenges to East India Company. The company requested the king to issue a charter by which special powers could be granted to it. The company was granted charter by King George I in 1726 to establish Mayor's Court in Madras, Bombay and Calcutta. Mayor's Court were not courts to the company, but courts of the King of England. Mayor's Courts superseded all existing courts established in above places. The Mayor's Courts were authorized to try, here, kindly mark from here the function of Mayor's Court. The Mayor's Courts were authorized to try, hear and determine all civil suits, action and pleas that may arise within the 3 towns or within the factories of the company. This part ko please underline karo. This is the main and the basic and the main feature of the Mayor's Court. Okay, underlined everyone? और इसके पहले it is basically telling us about East India Company only, that due to establishment of the company, we are calling East India Company as company. Okay, so don't get confused. So due to the establishment of the company, there had been so many challenges that EIC had to face, and then there were many requests and grants made to the king to issue a charter, a rule book, so that things might work. And then basically it was granted by King George I, and the main functioning of the Mayor's Court had to happen in the cities of Madras, Bombay and Calcutta. Okay, so these 3 cities, wherever you find it, always remember these 3 cities are important cities during the British colonization time, because the roots of colonization started from here only. एंड मेयर कोर्ट के बारे में एक चीज और तुम लोगों ने ध्यान दिया, मेयर कोर्ट्स सुपरसीडेड ऑल एग्जिस्टिंग कोर्ट्स एस्टैब्लिश्ड इन द अबव प्लेसेस, व्हिच मींस मेयर कोर्ट के एस्टैब्लिशमेंट के बाद मेयर कोर्ट वाज गिवन द हाईएस्ट अथॉरिटेटिव पावर. फॉर एग्जांपल मेयर कोर्ट उस टाइम का सुप्रीम कोर्ट था. ऑलराइट, ओके. नेक्स्ट, the court consisted of a mayor and 9 aldermen, 7 of whom including the mayor were required to be naturally born British subjects. Aldermen were selected from among the leading inhabitants of the settlement to hold the position for life. For life, let me tell you. The aldermen, you can say that the associating authority was aldermen. And how many were there? There were 9 aldermen. Okay. The mayor's court contributed significantly to the formulation of a uniform pattern of judicial functioning in India. Kindly mark this line. It's at the end of the paragraph, near the end of the paragraph. It says the mayor's courts contributed significantly to the formulation of a uniform pattern of judicial functioning in India. The mayor's court administered English law, which was assumed lex loci, law of the place. Underline till the end of the paragraph. Rochak? Rochak Agarwal, can you tell me the meaning of lex loci, which is given at the end of the paragraph? लेक्स लोकाई के लिए ब्रैकेट में क्या लिखा है? एग्जैक्टली. सो लेक्स, हाँ, एग्जैक्टली. सो लेक्स लोकाई बेसिकली मीन्स the main laws that govern the place where the laws exist and work. So law of the place was considered to be a very important terminology. We still use it in legal terms, but then it was primarily used there, which means law of the place. So any confusion till here, like knowing about the mayor's court, or any confusion, so that I move on with the chapter. If you have any confusion, let me know. I'll give you all 1 or 2 minutes. Kindly go through these couple of paragraphs that we have done. Like I'm giving you 1 minute, and then we start off with the next paragraph. Land a thumbs up on your screen if you don't have any doubt. If you have a doubt, switch on your mic and let me know. And I don't want any students to sit with their mouths shut even if they have a doubt. Let me know if you have a doubt. I'd be more than happy to clear it for you. Okay, so majority of the students are saying they have no doubts. Alright everyone, so I'm starting with the next paragraph, okay? Okay, we're starting with the Charter of 1726. And you know who granted the charter, right? Kritika, who granted the Charter of 1726? King George I? Okay. He granted the Charter of 1726. Alright, so moving on with the paragraph. The Charter of 1726 did not specify the law to be applied by the mayor's courts. The charter merely stated that the court was required to give judgment and sentence according to justice and right. Kindly mark this line. The charter merely stated Charter merely stated that the court was required to give judgment and sentence according to justice and right. So this was the main power given to the mayor's court by the Charter of 1726. There had been no other specifications as per the authority and the powers of the court, but then this was the basic power. Okay. Moving on. However, based on the past practice and in the light of 1661 charter, there was another charter in 1661, but since it's not given in your ISC syllabus, so we are not going to go on that. But then you have to keep in mind that there was another charter in the early times. So 1726 was not the first charter. Okay. So yeah, based on the past practice and in the light of charter of 1661, principles then existing English law or principles of English common law and equity were applied. So this line is somehow not relevant. It's okay. Skip it. Next, it is generally understood that the Charter of 1726 indirectly brought into application the laws of England, both common law and statute law, into the three British settlements in India. This is one of the distinctive outcomes of the 1726 Charter. Kindly underline from here, it is generally understood that the Charter of 1726. यहाँ से लेके till the end of the paragraph. Tushar Singh, I cannot see your webcam on. Kindly switch it on. Everybody is taking small breaks over. Okay. Next paragraph from a fresh page. Appeals from the mayor's court were made to the court of governor and the council. Now, let me tell you one thing very clearly. Okay, listen to this. Mayor court to ban gaye the, right? There had been formation of mayor court. But uske pehle paragraph mein, you must have, if you remember, now you guys were revising a while back, there was also the mention of governor and council, right? So did you people skip that part, or did you people give it some attention that the governor and the council of these towns formulated the judicial systems independently? That is the paragraph right above establishment of mayor's court. The second paragraph above establishment of mayor's court. It says the governor and the council of these towns being Madras, Calcutta and Bombay, they formulated the judicial systems independently. So coming back to this paragraph, governor and council played an important role. Mayor bhi tha, governor bhi tha, and council of ministers bhi tha. Alright? So, appeals from mayor courts were made to the court of governor and the council. The governor and 5 members of the council were appointed justices of peace and constituted a criminal court of oyer and terminer. Now, oyer and terminer are proper nouns used here, and you can see why. It's written in the paragraph. A partial translation of the Anglo-French oyer terminer, which literally means to hear and determine. Kindly underline from the governor till the end of this bracket. Kindly underline from there the second line, the governor and 5 members se leke, where the bracket is closed. Okay, so यहाँ पे we have been given the function and the nature of work that was done by the governor and the council. So I'm going to repeat the line for the last line and tell you, the governor and the 5 members of the council were appointed justices of peace, which means they used to work on the judicial system and bring about peace in the state. And uske aage, and constituted a criminal court of oyer and terminer. Criminal court, to be very precise. The governor and the council courts were not looking forward to civil matters, they were looking forward into criminal matters. Okay, it is said here they constituted a criminal court of oyer and terminer, and the meaning of oyer and terminer, ये आप लोग को याद करना होगा. It says a partial translation of the Anglo-French Oireta terminer, which literally means to hear and determine. So even if you don't write the name of the Anglo-French word, which is Oireta terminer, you can directly write the meaning to hear and determine. Okay, so Piyush, what is the meaning of Oireta terminer? Piyush Keshavani? I cannot hear you. The class cannot hear you. To hear and determine is the meaning, alright? Okay? So, after that, the court of governor and council were required to meet 4 times for a year for the trial of all offences except that of high treason. इसका मतलब क्या है? गवर्नर और काउंसिल की जो क्रिमिनल कोर्ट थी वो साल में 4 बार अपने ऑफिस में बैठती थी टू टेक अप एवरी केस दैट हैड हैपेंड, बट एक्सेप्शन that if there was a case of very high treason and gravity, it used to be taken up right away. Alright? For example, in your schools, if there is some small function, class 11th and 12th students don't come to the school. They are like, kaun jayega, chutti maarte hain. But then if there is something important which requires the senior students to be there, all of you are here. So if there is something really very of importance, of high importance and gravity, the case used to be taken up then and there, or else it used to be taken up 4 times a year when the council and the governor used to come. Okay, next paragraph. And yes, in the last line you must be saying a second appeal in cases valued 100 pagodas. This is the currency that was used, I guess. Kindly underline 1000 pagodas, and I want you all to tell me what was this. Was it coin? Was it notes? Was it bill? What was it? Okay, so you're going to tell me tomorrow कि ये currency थी क्या. It costed 1000 pieces, but then what was it? Okay, next paragraph. The mayor's court established under the charter of 1726 had several severe limitations. Limitation का क्या मतलब होता है अभिषेक? What is limitation? Yes. So since there were so many authoritative powers given to the mayor's court under the charter, there were also so many restrictions. Now we'll start off with this. There was no clarity regarding the applicable law, although the company made considerable efforts to apply the English law. So the first limitation was they were very well aware, the company was very well aware that we can apply the English law, right? But then they themselves were not clear as per the applicability of the law. आपने लॉ उठाया और सारे देश के लिए उस लॉ को रेडी कर दिया, but then how is it going to work and how is it going to function? If the government is unclear about that, the law loses its applicability, right? So applicability of law is really important when it comes to like what we are going through right now. East India Company, they had an idea about the law, the English law that they will apply, but they had no idea as to how and in which manner it is going to be applicable. Okay, after that, the jurisdiction of the mayor's court over natives was relatively uncertain. Natives mean, what does native mean? Native land क्या होता है? Native लोग कौन होते हैं? Who are the native people? Natives. Exactly, the ones, yes, habitants, the ones who've been there from time immemorial and generations. Okay, so and what is the meaning of jurisdiction? Anyone? Judgment, or more like the circle in which a court can declare its judgment. For example, Allahabad High Court का jurisdiction क्या होगा? The city of Allahabad, the city of Varanasi, previously the city of Lucknow as well. तो यहाँ Allahabad High Court का jurisdiction Allahabad के बाहर भी है, which means the court can take up cases from Varanasi as well. कहते नहीं है कि Allahabad bench Lucknow bench, High Court ka. It is also situated in other cities, which means Allahabad High Court has jurisdiction in those cities as well. Basically jurisdiction nearby cities में होता है, बहुत दूर नहीं होता है. Okay. Next, in several instances, the mayor's court annoyed the natives by applying the principles of English law, completely disregarding their personal laws and customs. Now, बॉम्बे, कैलकाटा और चेन्नई में रह कौन रहे थे? इंडियंस ही रह रहे थे. एंड द नेटिव इंडियंस, you know, they had their own customs and they had their own laws. But then the mayor's court people used to impose their English law without even the natives, you know, consideration, and they used to impose that law on them, which annoyed the natives a lot. So this was another limitation that was faced by the mayor's court. Okay. Now the next paragraph says, in 1746 the French occupied Madras, after which the functioning of the mayor's court was suspended in that city. Mark this line. As soon as the French occupied Madras, the functioning of the mayor court was suspended from that city, because the French had other way of working. They weren't going to work according to the British legal system or the English law. They suspended the whole functioning of the mayor court. And next line also says about them, the French surrendered Madras to the British in 1749 after the conclusion of the Peace Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. This is a French treaty. ये अगर आप नहीं भी लिखोगे तो चलेगा. Doesn't bother you all. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. I'll still give you marks over this if you don't write this, because this is not in direction with your syllabus, but still, if you mention it, it's fine. If you don't mention it, then also. Using this opportunity, the company requested the king to remove some difficulties related to the charter. Any doubt, anything that you don't understand till here, charter का मतलब क्या होता है? French आ गए. You don't have to lay down the reason why French came in. You just have to mention French came in 1746 and suspended the mayor's court city in Madras. Okay? Any doubt till here? No? Okay. The last paragraph is basically about the selection of mayor, governor, council and everything. So I want you all to go through it on your own. So kindly put a tick mark on the last paragraph. I'm going to give this last paragraph would be discussed in tomorrow's class. I'm going to give you an introduction of Regulating Act of 1773 right now. But then this last paragraph above this Act of 1773, I'm going to appoint 3 students who are going to discuss it with all of us tomorrow before the class begins. So I'm going to take up names from this list. It will be, okay, I'll start with Bhumi Rastogi, and I'll have Lotus and Samriddhi Sonkar. Alright, Bhumi, Lotus and Samriddhi. Tomorrow before we start the class, we're just going to discuss a paragraph, this paragraph, the last paragraph before 1773 Act, and we shall discuss and we'll let the class know what this paragraph says. Okay, so everybody has to go through it, but these 3 students, they are going to introduce the class with this paragraph tomorrow. Okay. Alright, I'll give you an introduction to Regulating Act of 1773 first. So, judicial functions of the East India Company expanded substantially after its victory in the Battle of Plassey. Just for your general knowledge, read 1 or 2 lines about Battle of Plassey on Google Wikipedia. That's it. Nothing else has to be written about it. Okay? So, East India Company won the Battle of Plassey and they expanded substantially after that with their judicial functions. The battle established the company rule in Bengal, which expanded much over India for the next 100 years. After this battle, the real authority of Nawab of Bengal passed on to the British. In the year 1765, Robert Clive secured in perpetuity for the East India Company the Diwan of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa from the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam, who was still considered to be the ruler of the country, against a payment of rupees 26 lakhs. So these 5 lines that we've discussed, they are basically describing The victory of East India Company. Alright, East India Company was basically functioning in Madras, Calcutta and Bombay, and then the French came in, and then only Calcutta and Bombay were left. And after that, East India Company fought the war or the Battle of Plassey, and they won. And after winning that battle, when they started expanding their own business, which was the judicial business, they started moving to Bengal. And from Bengal, they emerged out for another 100 years. How many years? 100 years. Alright, and from Bengal, they started spreading their roots throughout the country. As you can see, what does it say? The Nawab of Bengal passed on to the British, so Bengal got surrendered in front of EIC. It was taken up by EIC. After that, Robert Clive secured in perpetuity for the East India Company Diwan of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. So these three main major states also went in the hands of EIC. Okay. After that, the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam, who was still considered to be the ruler of the country, against a payment of 26 lakhs. So you see 26 lakhs in the year of 1765. How much value does it hold? 26 lakhs at that time must be equivalent to owning the whole country. आज 25-26 लाख में you don't even get a flat. At that time he was almost owning the whole country's wealth. 26 lakhs in the year 1765. So till here, do we have any confusion? Do you want to ask me something that skipped right above the head and you still did not bother me about it? Because you can. 5 minutes to the end of the class, so last 5 minutes I'm going to take up any sort of doubts you have. And by tomorrow, and yes, there's an important notice for you all, kindly listen. We might finish this chapter tomorrow, so I want you all to be in the class at maximum by 10:05 AM. 10:05 से ऊपर late मत करना, so that we have the whole 50-55 minute class tomorrow and we end this chapter. Because I have laid down an assignment and uploaded an assignment with some questions as well, right? The part of the chapter that has been deducted, I will remove those questions, but still you have to do all those questions. I might add some other questions as well. I'll give it to you after the class. Not tomorrow, but then maybe day after. So Kal, please, everybody, what time do you have to join the class? (10:05). Please don't be late for tomorrow's class. Alright, because tomorrow we might be on the verge of completion of this chapter and then we can do our assignments and then move on with the second chapter. Okay, students? So any doubt till here? Do you want me to tell you anything? Yes. We stopped at regulating Act of 1773 today, right? So uske upar you must be noticing 10 to 12 line paragraph. This is the paragraph that I have laid down to 3 students who will discuss with us tomorrow, and we'll start with, we have done the introduction for Act of 1773, we'll start from here tomorrow, okay? And after this, only a couple of 6-7 pages are left and we are going to make a target of completing this chapter tomorrow. If there is any doubt, we'll cover it day after, but then we will have to complete the chapter as well, okay? Any more doubts? Beta, that has been removed from the ISC syllabus council syllabus. Yes, everything that I have skipped has been deduced. Okay, don't worry about it. Whatever is being cut out, I will let you know and I will provide you the chapter in that manner, okay? Okay? Yes, sir. Kindly wait, students. All right, Taha, understood.